We will now hear presentations from our distinguished panelists, and it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Pedro de Vasconcelos, Manager of the Financing Facility for Remittances of the International Fund for Agricultural Development.
Thank you, Chair, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and colleagues. Each year, migrants send more than $650 billion to low and middle-income countries. Behind those figures are millions of families supporting daily needs, managing risks, and sustaining economies. For a rural family, this is not just a financial flow. It's the difference between coping and planning, between absorbing a shock and investing in the future. But this is only the part of the story. Migrants and diaspora also represent a much larger economic force. They hold an estimated $500 billion in savings with significant potential for investment. Around 1/3 of these flows go to rural areas where financial access is most limited, but also where these remittances matter the most. It is estimated that around $25 billion are invested in agri-food systems, supporting production and local markets. At the household level, the pattern is also very clear. 75% of the remittances received goes to immediate needs: food, education, health. The remaining 25% is either saved or invested. These are not marginal flows. They are central to resilience and local development. And this is the starting point, really, for the objective 19 and 20 we're discussing. But it's important to recall a fundamental principle when looking at those. One is that remittances are private resources. They belong to families. They should not be redirected. Public policy should expand the options available to these resources that can be therefore used safely and productively. And that takes me to Objective 20. Progress has been significant since their adoption in 2018. Cost of decline. The digitalization has transformed how remittances are sent and also received. Mobile money, fintechs, in real-time payments have expanded access and increased competition. But important gaps remain. Cost is still above the targets for many corridors, particularly in Africa. Digital infrastructure remains uneven, and access remains limited, particularly for women and rural populations. More importantly, I think, is that the agenda has evolved. The question is no longer how or only how money is sent. It is what happens when it arrives. Remittances can have greater impact when linked with savings, credit, insurance, and investment. This requires not only connectivity, but strong financial ecosystems, appropriate products, and enabling regulation. And the real shift that we are seeing is that there is a focus from cost reduction to a focus on value creation, particularly on remittances, from sending money to building financial resilience, from isolated transactions to integrated financial ecosystems. And that brings me to Objective 19. Diasporas are increasingly recognized as development actors. They invest, transfer skills, and support innovation across borders. However, engagement remains fragmented. Many initiatives are short-term and weakly coordinated. Data is limited and institutional frameworks are somewhat uneven. At the same time, barriers persist: high cost, regulatory complexity, and limited access to financial instruments. As a result, much of the potential remains untapped for many diaspora groups. And this is why we believe that these two objectives must be seen together. Objective 20 builds access and infrastructure, and Objective 90 enables investment and engagement. This priority now is, as we see it, integration of these two. Remittances and diaspora investment should be embedded into national development and financial inclusion strategies. It is happening already, but unfortunately in only a few countries that have large diasporas abroad. Public policy does not direct private resources. I would like to say it slowly, because it's one of the misconceptions. But what it can do, it can reduce barriers, expand access, and support innovation. In practice, we know that that works. When digital systems combine with appropriate regulation, costs decline and access expands. When products are tailored, savings and investments increase. When diaspora engagements align with local priority, impact is the strongest. The solution exists, the challenge, as we see it, is scale. Excellency, the question is no longer whether remittances matter. They already do. The question is whether we are creating the systems that allow them to reach their full potential. This requires action on three fronts: stronger and more interoperable digital payment system, financial products adapted to migrants and rural households, and the systematic integration of diaspora engagement into national strategies. This is not about redirecting private resources, it's about enabling better choices. If we get this right, we move from flows to sustained consumption, to systems that support resilience, investment, and long-term development. This is really the opportunity before us. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm delivering this joint statement on behalf of IFAD and FAO. In this period of global uncertainty, the second International Migration Review Forum offers a unique opportunity to renew commitments to the positive role of migrants in sustainable development, especially through the remittances they send and the investment they make. This was central to the 2022 IMRF Progress Declaration, and today we must both recognize progress and align with current realities. Remittances are now among the largest financial flows to low and middle income countries, exceeding $650 billion in 2024 and projected to reach $3.5 trillion by 2030. Global frameworks, including the recent Sevilla commitment of the Fourth International Conference on Financing for Development, increasingly recognize their transformative impact, particularly in promoting financial inclusion in rural areas. The challenge is no longer just reducing cost, but maximizing development impact. Remittances support financial inclusion, resilience, food security, and entrepreneurship, especially in rural communities. Diaspora contributions also strengthen agri-food systems, climate resilience, and youth opportunities through investment, knowledge, and market access. However, significant challenges remain. Costs are still above the 3% SDG target, and financial and digital gap persist, especially for women, youth, and rural populations. Structural barriers such as remoteness, weak infrastructure, and limited investment information continue to limit the impact. With limited time to achieve the SDGs, action is needed. We call on member states and stakeholders to reduce remittance costs, expand inclusion, promote productive use of remittances, strengthen data, enable diaspora investment and skill transfer, engage diaspora in development planning, and leverage remittances for climate resilience. Finally, let me take this opportunity to invite all partners to support the 2026 International Day of Family Remittances campaign, focused on remittances for rural resilience, entrepreneurship, and employment, and to turn commitments into concrete results. Let us ensure that the 2026 IMRF Progress Declaration reflects today's reality, recognizing remittances and diaspora investment as a key driver of financial inclusion, rural transformation, climate resilience, and sustainable development. Thank you.